Hello and welcome to my channel. I am Zodiac Bandit, and today we're going to be recapping episode 120 of Campaign 3 of Critical Role. Let's get into it. We start in the hollowed cage. The massive head of Pthos bursts from the ground, and two hands doing the same thing. It is time for round 2 with Pthos. Just before the fight begins, Dorian took a minute. There was roughly a minute between the rounds. As he wasn't feeling confident it was over, he cast Foresight on himself at 9th level. He now has advantage on basically everything, and his enemies have disadvantage on him, basically everything. So, time to roll initiative. Dorian, 23, Chetney, 21, Imogen, 19, Ashen, 19, Laudna, 19, Orem, 18, Fern, 13, 12 for Breas. The party can see black energy is within the throat of Pthos still, seemingly from the god who was not eaten by Imogen. I just want to mention before we start the fight, both the hands of Pthos and the head, when it attacks, gets to crit on 18, 19, and 20s. So there is, a potential for a lot of crits. First up is Dorian. Dorian flies down within 30 feet of some other people on his team. The only people he doesn't get is Chetney and Imogen, and he cast Mass Cure Wounds, healing everybody in that radius for 25 HP. Chetney is now up. His brand is still on the head. It's just carrying over from the last fight. And then he climbs up towards the head, which is on an elevated platform, and he is now standing next to it. He swings at it 3 times, missing with a 19, hitting with a 27, and missing again with a dirty 20. This thing has high AC. He deals 28 damage total. But it doesn't look like it seems to hit home completely due to the crystal armor that thing is wearing, and some of the damage reverberates back on to Chetney, and he takes 3 damage. It's time for initiative count 20. The head suddenly moves and burrows away underground, away from Chetney. Chetney doesn't get an attack of opportunity, and it comes back up closer to the rest of the party. Imogen is up. Imogen casts Blade of Disaster, and she puts it next to the head. It is a red, ruinous glass blade in its appearance, and she attacks with it. She hits with the first attack for 34 force damage. The crystals were broken away, digging into the meat of Pthos at this point. It has this crystal armor gives it about 50 temporary HP. She then hits it again for 20 more damage. She then casts Mind Sliver on one of the hands. The hand fails and takes 12 damage. Its next save will have minus 1d4 as well. Pthos then uses 2 legendary actions to use Shriek of Oblivion. The head of Pthos has the crystals on it turn black, and are just like the energy in its mouth. A beam then comes out with a high-pitched whine, hitting everyone in a straight line. So Breas, Fern, and Ashen. They need to make dexterity saving throws. Fern saves, no impact. However, Breas and Ashen both fail, and they take 62 necrotic damage each. Ashen is up. He runs up to to one of the hands and swings, hitting with a 32, dealing 21 damage. He swings again, hitting again for 24 damage. He then moves back towards the others to give them some bonuses without leaving the range of the hand. Orem notices that the head does recoil when Ashen hits the hand, so they are tied together in their HP totals. Pthos uses a legendary action to use one of the hands to slam down on all the creatures within 5 feet of the impact zone, hitting Fern, Ashen, and missing Orem, luckily. So Fern and Ashen both take 26 damage. Ashen is raging, so he gets half. Fern deals 3 damage back as she's in her Titan form, and Fern is also pushed away 10 feet, but Ashen can't be pushed, so he doesn't move at all. Laudna is up. She touches the hand near her and uses Hunger of the Shadow Shard, hitting it, dealing 20 damage, and she gets a Warlock spell slot back. Clutch. She then uses a new ability that she got for leveling up during the last little bit of the last episode. She uses Shadow Walk, and in dim light or in a shadow, she can then teleport up to 120 feet away to another shadow. She teleports up to a very high point on the map, and is now away from everybody. Orem is up. He jumps onto the head of Pthos, getting hit by the hand as he leaves, or at least he would have if Breas didn't give it disadvantage with his armor, so the hand misses the opportunity attack. Orem then slashes at the head. His first attack deals 22 damage after hitting, but a reaction is used by the head of Pthos, which pulls crystals in, giving it 20 temporary hit points. So only 2 damage actually goes through on this attack. His second attack then misses, his third attack then misses. Orem then action surges, First attack misses, second attack hits for 21 damage, and his third and final attack misses. Orm yells, "I think we're kind of fucked," because he missed over half of his attacks on this one, and he normally hits all of them. Pthos then uses a legendary action. He uses Maw of the Red End. It hits Orm with a 25, and Orm is pierced for 38 damage, and he is flung into the air and bitten by the God Eater. A strength save from Orm, dirty 20. He fails. Orm is now devoured by the God Eater, or now the Halfling Eater. Orm, however, still has his bonus action and uses Misty Step to get out and appears next to Chetney. Pthos is now up, and Pthos makes one of its hands attack Ashton. It hits for 25 damage, and Ashton needs to make a strength saving throw. He saves. The hand tries to throw Ashton, but he holds firm on the ground. Another hand then bursts out of the ground, slamming Imogen. This arm is massive, by the way. It's a lot bigger than the other ones. She takes 22 damage as it hits her. Pthos then uses what's known as Miracle Devour. The constant humming that comes off of Pthos gets louder and more rhythmic, almost like it's charging something. Fern is up. She casts Scorching Ray at 4th level on the head, hitting all 5. One of them is a crit. She deals 42 damage total, with all of her fire bonuses from Mister and her Titan form as well. She then moves over a little bit away from the party so they're not all in a line again. Mister then throws his flaming shit and hits for 11 damage. Pthos uses a legendary action to use what's known as Telekinetic Vacuum on Laudna. She needs to make a strength saving throw or be pulled towards the head of Pthos. She then rolls a natural 20, the only way that this weakling could have saved. Literal weakling, like her strength score sucks. Nothing happens to her luckily because she made the save with a crit. Breas is up. He casts Staggering Smite and then he swings with his flail for the head. His first attack misses, but his second attack hits and crits, and he uses Divine Smite. He deals 77 damage, and Pthos must make a Wisdom saving throw, but it saves. His smite changes from just the black that we're used to now a black and red. Also, Breas is turning a bit more red himself and a bit more devilish. This explains why he has a man's face and not a cow's face. He then moves away from the hand that's nearby him. Dorian is up. He feels a little fearful and a little incompetent for a moment, but then he tells himself that he is Bronte Wyverwind, the only son of the Silken Squall, and then he thinks of Chetney, who used to tease him for his royalty. He looks at Chetney and says, "Your prince," and casts Crown of Stars at 8th level, making 9 star motes appear around his head. As a bonus action, he then sends one of these stars towards one of the hands fighting Ashton. Hitting with a 24, dealing 17 damage. Chetney is up. He jumps down towards the head, flanking it with Breas. He then swings with Turmoil, hitting both attacks, but it uses a reaction to get 20 temp HP back. So Chetney deals 29 damage with the first, and 22 damage with the second, and then a total of 18 thunder damage from Turmoil spread across both those attacks, on top of the damage before. He then puts a Blood Curse of Bloated Agony on the head. Initiative count 20. One of the hands burrows down to the ground and emerges near Fern. Pthos then uses 2 legendary actions to use Screech of the Ravaged Mind. The black crystals suddenly get brighter and the mouth of Pthos opens and no sound comes out of it, but those within 30 feet of the head hear a sound within their mind. They need to make con saving throws. Chetney, Breas, Fern, and Ashton are the ones being affected by it. Chetney saves with a 22, so he takes 12 damage. Ashton saves, so he takes 12 damage. Breas saves, so he takes 12 damage. Fern, however, fails with a 4, taking 25 damage total. Imogen is up. She moves around the big hand near her. She then lines up 2 of the hands and the head and casts a Lightning Bolt, transmuting it to a Thunder damage bolt, so we're going to call it Thunderbolt for the rest of the recap, because it's just easier that way. And she casts this at 8th level. They all fail, but the head uses its legendary resistances to have the damage on 2 of them. Actually, no, he changed it to 1, my bad. On 1 of them, 1 legendary resistance used. She then deals 96 damage, shattering 1 of the hands. She then uses the blade, the red blade that she summoned before, the Blade of Disaster, as a bonus action, hitting for 28 damage total. on the first attack. She then crits on the second attack for 59 damage. This Blade of Disaster can attack twice as a bonus action, which is wild. Ashen is up. He moves towards the big hand that was fighting Imogen and gets advantage with her. He swings, hitting the first attack for 28 damage. He hits the second attack for 29. He then moves off to the side to not be in a line with fucking Imogen yet again because they don't want to be in lines anymore. Make triangles. Laudna is up. She casts Fireball on the head, hand, and Fern, but Fern is immune to Fireball. The hand fails, the head saves. Laudna deals 25 damage to the hand and 12 damage to the head. She then quicken spells and casts Chilled Touch on the head. Travis reminds Matt that Pthos took 6 damage due to the brand of castigation because it made an attack on people. She hits with a 30, dealing 20 damage, and that means that Pthos' head can't gain any hit points until her next turn. Laudna then moves back a bit. Orm is up. He jumps to the crystals that are on top of the head of Pthos, and then he swings. He was initially trying to get advantage with Breas, but Chetney's already in that position, so you can't really have two people from the same guy get advantage. He hits his first attack for 21 damage, he misses his second, and his last one hits for 20 damage. Pthos is now up. The party on previous turns watch Pthos draw in crystals, giving himself 50 temporary hit points, and he does so once again. This doesn't get affected by the Chilled Touch, as it's temporary hit points, and is more like armor as opposed to it being actual HP. The head then burrows down to the ground and moves about 15 feet behind Fern. He then calls forth another limb, which is another very large hand, like the one that was in front of Imogen. Pthos then uses a beam attack again, hitting Fern, Dorian, Orem, and Chetney. They need to all make dexterity saving throws. Dorian is the crit machine today. Believe me, it gets worse or better. Natural 20 for Dorian, nothing happens to him. Chetney saves, nothing happens to him. Fern fails, and she takes 67 damage, but uses evasion to only take 32, but it doesn't matter. Fern falls unconscious as she only had 30 HP left. Orem also failed and took 67 damage. Pthos then uses 2 of its limbs. One attacks Imogen and hits her for 52 damage, and the other swings for Laudna, but it would have hit if not for the shield that she casts, so it pulls a bunch of rocks away from the top where she is, but not her. Fern is up, so she must make a death save, and she rolls a natural 1, which means there are 2 death fails now. She also doesn't lose her Titan form when she goes unconscious, so she's still technically flickering in that form. Pthos uses a legendary action to make a limb attack against Imogen. It hits and deals 21 damage. Breas is up, and he says that he has a singular mission, killing Pthos, so he won't be healing Fern. But then, Imogen flashes him with her titty, and he changes his mind for now. He then runs to Fern, as this was a divine sign to be flashed. Before he runs over, he inspires Laudna by showing her a painting he made of her and throws it to her. He then puts 1 point of his lay on hands onto Fern. You only need 1 to stand back up, so perfect play. He only has 3 left. Well, now he only has 2 left. Pthos then uses a legendary action to hit Imogen for 20 damage. Dorian is up, he flies to the hand near Imogen and swings with his sword, dealing 12 damage, shattering the hand. He then flies back towards the head and swings for it, and deals 8 damage. He adds a flourish to it, so it deals 2 more damage, and he adds 1 AC to himself. He then uses Healing Word to heal Ashen for 29 HP. Pthos uses a legendary action to attack Fern. The hand would have advantage because she was prone, but Breas gave a disadvantage because of his armor. But it still hits, or would have if Fern didn't cast Shield to make it miss. Chetney is up. He uses his Boots of Speed to run towards Imogen, and then he uses the Staff of Dark Odyssey to cast Blink on her. This means they can no longer teleport. Initiative count 20. The hand near Breas burrows next to Imogen, and the other hand moves towards Breas and Fern. Imogen is up. She moves her Blade of Disaster to the hand and hits it for 33 total damage. She then moves and casts Thunderbolt again on the hands. Both fail, take 84 damage total. Both hands shatter. No hands currently remain on the battlefield. Imogen then blinks out into the ethereal plane, which is the plane between. Ashen is up, he dashes up towards the head, and then Laudna is up, she casts Mirror Image, she then Quicken Spells and Eldritch Blast on the head, hitting all 4 of them, one of them crits, she deals 58 damage total. She then takes some cover, Orym is now up, he runs to Fern and gives her a healing potion, healing her for 44 HP, he then uses Bait and Switch, giving her 6 additional AC. She now has 28 because of shield as well, so crazy AC right now. Pthos is up. It doesn't get its beam attack back, which seems to be a rolled thing, which is good. He then calls for another hand. He calls for more hands to surround the party. It then uses Screech of the Ravaged Mine, and it hits Dorian, who saves, taking 17 damage, Breas, who fails, taking 35, Fern, who fails, taking 35, Orym, who saves for 17, and Ashen, who saves for 17. So all the healing they just did to Fern was effectively worthless, as she's now below 20 again. Breas drops his Staggering Smite as he lost concentration. A hand attacks Orym, hitting for 32 damage. One swings for Dorian, hitting for 29 damage, and Pthos gets 50 temporary HP back because of Miracle Devour. Fern is up, she stands and casts Flame Blade at 6th level. She then moves up to the head, losing the AC from Orym, but she swings, getting advantage with some people surrounding her, and she's able to add her sneak attack onto the damage, and she crits. They ruled it that she was allowed to use sneak attack. It just makes sense. She's a rogue, she has allies within 5 feet of the fucking thing, it's a scimitar, fuck it, they're gonna do it. I think that's a great ruling. She deals 74 damage with this crit and sneak attack combo. Mr. however, misses his flaming shit. Breas is up. He runs up to the head of Pthos, taking an attack of opportunity from the hand for 26 damage. He casts Staggering Smite again, and then swings using Divine Smite, dealing 51 damage on the first attack. The second attack, however, misses. Pthos uses a legendary action to use Maw of the Red End on Ashen. It crits Silvery Barbs from Fern, who picked it up recently after they leveled up. It still hits and deals 42 damage, so that's half to 21. And the strength save from Ashen, 26. The teeth chomp down on Ashen, closing its mouth with Ashen inside, but Ashen rips it open and steps out. Kind of like, every badass dude fighting a massive creature in every action movie. They rip themselves out of the mouth of the creature. Dorian is up. He heals Ashen with Healing Word for 20 HP this time. Dorian then swings with his sword, critting for 22 damage. He swings again, only dealing 8 damage this time. Chetney is up, he runs to Ashen and puts a healing potion in his hands, and then he runs and flanks the head with Breas. Chetney then swings, hitting both times. Pthos uses a reaction to gain 20 temporary hit points. Chetney deals 60 damage total. Initiative count 20. One of the hands moves behind Chetney. Imogen is up, and she blinks in 10 feet away from where she was before. She then moves to the right a bit to get a better line, and she casts Thunderbolt on the head. The head saves, she deals 30 damage total to the head of Pthos. She uses a sorcery point to quicken a spell to cast Shocking Grasp and transmutes it again with another sorcery point. However, this one misses. It would have been Thunder Grasp, I guess, if it hit. She then blinks out of existence again. Ashen is up and he swings for the head. He hits with a crit. For 54 damage on that swing, he also gives advantage to everyone hitting the head until his next turn. Ashen swings again for the head, dealing 32 damage. He then activates his shard to become a diamond form, becoming immune to everything, apparently, which is nuts. Pthos uses a legendary action to attack Dorian for 31 damage. Pthos then uses another legendary action to use Telekinetic Vacuum to pull Laudna down. Laudna, however, fails the strength save, and she is pulled right to the head of Pthos. Breas asks if now is a good time to talk, and she says no. Laudna is now up. She moves back from Pthos. Pthos gets an opportunity attack, which hits her, or it would have, but Chetney uses his last curse, his blood curse, to reduce the attack by a d10 and rolls a 10, making the attack 14 instead of 24. Laudna is nearly eaten by the God Eater, but luckily survives that fate. She is now out of melee range and casts Eldritch Blast, hitting 4, critting for 2 of them. She deals 70 damage with a fucking cantrip. That's insane. She then casts Hex on Pthos. Should have done it the other way, but we learn. Orym is up. He arcs around the head about 15 feet away so he can air slash it. So he hits, dealing 22 damage, 17 damage, and 8 damage with each of his attacks. Pthos is up. It gets its beam attack back, and then moves away from the party, who are currently in a perfect line. Another arm also emerges. The beam then comes out and hits Dorian, Ashton, Fern, Breas, and Laudna. Ashton is immune. Laudna fails and takes 73 damage. She's still standing. She hasn't taken much damage this fight. Dorian saves and takes 36 damage, but he goes down anyway. Breas fails, taking 73 damage, and he goes down. Fern saves, but with evasion she takes 0 damage. 2 of the healers are currently fucking down. A hand then crits Chetney for 52 damage, which is halved. Con save for Blink, he saves. Another swing, another crit. However, this time Laudna uses Silvery Barbs to not make it a crit, but then the hand rolls a natural 20, so it crits anyway. This is what I was talking about earlier when I mentioned how 18s, 19s, and 20s crit for these things. So it happened a lot, and it happened on literally every attack going towards Chetney this round. Chetney takes 29 more damage. He con save to keep Blink up, and he does. Fern is up. She moves out of the line, because fuck being in that line, and she casts Scorching Ray, hitting 4 for 5, dealing 34 damage total. Mr. throws his flaming shit and hits for 9 damage. Legendary action to attack Chetney. He takes 15 damage, and this time he loses Blink. Suddenly, Imogen reappears on the battlefield, right next to the head of Pthos. Breas is up. Death save. He rolls a 7. That is 1 fail for him. Legendary action. The red... It uses the Maw of the Red End on Imogen. It hits and deals 32 damage. Imogen is now out cold and swallowed by the head of Pthos. Dorian is up. Death save. He saves with an 18. Chetney is up. He uses Turmoil to cast Shatter on the head. The head saves, taking 38 damage. Keep in mind, even with saving, it does still take full damage, because it would normally be doubled, because this thing is weak to thunder. He then Misty Steps and runs behind the head, a little bit out of the range of melee. Initiative count 20. One of the hands moves away from the party and appears towards the head, and then the head moves beside it a little bit closer. They are about 30 feet left of Chetney now. Imogen is up. She takes damage from being eaten by the God Eater and fails a death save. Now, I'm pretty sure it's normally 2, but I think they've been pretty consistent about this rule change, so it's only 1 death save for them. She then rolls a death saving throw, and she rolls a 11. She has 1 fail and 1 success. Ashton is up. He walks up to try to pry the mouth open of Pthos. He uses his hammer to open it up, and he's going to lock the hammer in place. Contested strength check for, to see if this works. Ashton rolls a natural 20, which just wins. He smashes the mouth of Pthos open, and he uses the immovable rod to keep it open. Ashton then leaves his hammer in place and tries to grab Imogen and pull her out. Contested strength roll again. He rolls a 27. He's able to rip the unconscious body of Imogen out of its mouth. He leaves his hammer behind because fuck it, his friends are more important, and he runs out of the mouth completely. Ashton is now normal, no more Titan form, so he has 2 points of exhaustion as well. Laudna is up. She moves 30 feet up, closer towards everything. She uses Void Puppet on the head, and the puppet looks like Odahan Thule. She then shoots her Disintegrate Ray at the Hammer of Ashton, using its ability to split the spell into different directions. She has to roll a 12 or higher to get it to work properly, and if she rolls lower than 12, total than 12, it'll hit Ashton. She rolls a 9, and with her modifier of 5, she's able to hit the hammer properly, and it hits the hand and the head of Pthos. Both need to make dexterity saving throws. The head uses its last legendary action to succeed, and the hand fails. The hand takes 73 damage and is still up. Crazy. Orym runs 10 feet away from the nearest hand, dropping Hex, using Seedling to pull Dorian to him, and puts a healing potion in Dorian's mouth for 15 HP. He tells Dorian that he needs him, and asks him to get up. Pthos then uses a legendary action to attack Orym, and it crits, dealing 29 damage, knocking Orym out. Dorian wakes up and watches his boyfriend get fucking put down. Pthos is up. It doesn't get its beam attack back or its shriek back. The head then moves next to Laudna, and it goes to eat her, but the mirror image comes in clutch and it misses because of it. A hand then attacks Ashton with a natural 20, dealing 23 damage, but with Relentless Rage, Ashton stays up with 1 HP. The other hand then goes to crit on Fern. She uses Silvery Barbs, but the hand still hits, knocking Fern out once again. The hand takes 5 damage from the fire damage from her Titan form. Mister then throws a flaming shit out of pure anger, dealing 12 damage on the hit. Good. Mister's on fucking fire. I didn't mean to say it like that, but he is. Fern's turn. She needs to roll a death save. She rolls a natural 1, 2 fucking fails. God damn it. Brace is up. Death save. He rolls a 4. He now has 2 fails. Dorian is up. He stands. He sees the carnage all around him. A lot of his friends are currently down or in very rough shape. He flies into the air and casts Mass Cure Wounds at 7th level, healing 29 HP to each. Imogen, Orym, Fern, Brace, Ashton, and Laudna. Chetney was a bit out of range, and he chose not to heal himself. He then inspires Brace. Brace asks him why he did that and why he helped him after what he did, and Brace says for some reason he still trusts him. Legendary action, the hand attacks Imogen. It hits for 26 damage. She now has 3 HP left. Chetney is up. He runs up to the head, staying within the range of the hand. He uses a reaction. Pthos uses a reaction to get 20 temporary hit points. Chetney hits, dealing 38 damage. Chetney takes 9 damage in reverberation for his efforts. He then hits again for 33 damage. I have made fun of Chetney the entire campaign for still using Turmoil, but fuck me, it has been helping them so much in this fight with the extra thunder damage, and it's just a cool symbol to still have the weapon of Lord Esteros around with them, which is badass. Initiative count 20. The head moves away from the party and next to Ashton. It then uses 2 other legendary actions to attack Ashton. It misses with a 2, and Ashton uses a Dreadful Misfortune, which is an ability he has, making Pthos attack itself, and it deals 20 damage to itself. Imogen is up. She stands, and she looks at the ring the Archheart gave her, the Ring of Remembrance. She has to roll a d20, and if she rolls above her current HP, which is 3, she will cast Meteor Swarm. The trade-off is if she rolls below her current HP, she will instead take 20d6 fire damage and 20d6 bludgeoning damage. She rolls a d20, and she rolls a 12, casting Meteor Swarm. A 40-foot radius diameter from each of the spheres on the head and the remaining hands, each getting hit by 1. She then uses a sorcery point to transmute the fire damage to thunder damage. She deals 74 bludgeoning damage and 80 thunder damage if they fail. There's no sky here, so she takes the rock from the ceiling above, slamming it down into the battlefield. Imogen makes eye contact with Pthos and says, "You're mine." They still need to make dex saves. The hands fail and disappear. They're gone. The head also fails, and the head takes some of the damage the hands take. So in total, the head of Pthos took 234 damage. The stones, or the meteors, smash Pthos, getting the "how do you want to do this" for Imogen. She hears the Archheart say behind her, "That was absolutely beautiful," and the room goes quiet after the meteors fall. The dust clears, and the head of Pthos is crumbled and motionless. Crystals then float in the air. The battle seems to be over. The Bellshells all made it out. They're all up and conscious. A light then suddenly comes out from the head. It's the light that they met when they first got here, and it looks at her. It asks if they can go now, and it walks forward towards her. It begins to dim and splinter into what looks to be hundreds of small lights that all drift into Imogen. But unlike before when the light went into her, she lost control. This time she's in control as the light seems docile. But the small light begins to grow again within her. She knows she doesn't have that much time. The party asks if it's affecting her. Imogen says not yet, but she believes it will soon if they don't get moving. They need to talk to the gods. Laudna takes out the mask and sees that the mask is gray and crumbles away in her hand. Ashton says that they need to go meet them. Orym says that they're risking everything to leave, but they all agree that they do have to leave. The ceiling continues to crack and crumble. The pulse of the prime pillar which stands above them has grown dark. They hear Liliana call for Imogen as she enters the chamber. Chetney smells the air to see if it's actually her, and he rolls a 15 and gets a whisper. He takes out his chisel and begins to whittle away on some wood, as it seems to be her. Laudna says that Imogen is going to be a target, and they can't really trust anyone, including her. This was inside of Imogen's mind. Liliana asks if it's done, and Imogen says yes, and they need to go. Liliana asks where, but the party don't really know yet. Another loud crack as the crystal begins to crack above them. The party then begin to run out of the chamber. The party run and drink up potions as they go. As they go, Orm is on lookout and rolls a ridiculously high perception check. They reach the next chamber where they first saw Ludinus absorbing Liliana. As they move here, the ceiling falls, and some of them need to make dexterity saving throws. Chetney, Laudna, Dorian, and Breas all need to. They all save, so they all take 5 damage. They step out into the open chasm from where they first entered this area. They are trapped as they are out of resources, and they can't really climb up these very tall pillars without resources. They wonder if the Mycete can help, but there aren't any around. They could try to climb the pillars like I mentioned before, but that's a hell of a climb without any resources. They can hear the chasm breaking off in parts off in the distance. Imogen casts Sending to Caleb. We did it, but everything is falling apart. Are you here? Can you get us out? Dorian, in the meantime, uses his mandolin that he got from Dariax to heal Fern, Breas, Chetney, and Ashton a little bit. The Mighty Nine are currently capturing the remaining survivors of the army of Rites. Caleb answers, and he says that he's pretty spent and doesn't know where they are. How does he get to them? The party try to think of others who can help them in the moment. Ira, Tevin, Plane Rider Rin. As they think there's more cracking happening behind them. Imogen says that she's going to send a message to Plane Rider Rin. She says, Rin, we need help. We're at the hollowed cage. Everything is falling apart. We succeeded. Can you get us out? She responds, my goodness, really? Well, let me see what I can do. The party don't resist a scry spell, and Travis needs to roll a D100. He rolls a 74, which means it's on target for the teleport. Suddenly, a red and green flame bursts out of nowhere, and dust kicks up, and Rin appears before the party. They thank her for helping her before. Their missing arm is currently wrapped up with their cloth, or their jacket. They ask where to go. The only place that she knows is the Bloody Bridge, and that is gone. They all tell Rin about the secret entrance. Imogen asks how many Plane Rider Rin can take, and Rin says she can only take 8 plus herself, which is 1 less than necessary because they have 9 people, so they have 10 total. So 9, they're a little overboard here. The party suggests they can put someone in the black hole. Dorian says that he can hold his breath forever, so he'll go in the hole. Orm says to tell me more about that later. God damn it. Laudna casts Silent Image to show Plane Rider Rin the location of the secret entrance of the portal. They don't think that they can teleport there or straight to Exandria. Rin isn't very confident about teleporting just based off that Silent Image. The secret entrance is closer to the city of Kaviris than the Bloody Bridge is, but the Bloody Bridge is gone. Rin says that she feels much safer about bringing them to the outside of the city and then hoofing it to the secret entrance. Imogen is a little nervous as she's not sure how long she'll be able to last with this thing inside of her. A few hours might not be the best for her. As they talk about what's going on, the ceiling begins to fall away and they need to make dexterity saving throws. Chetney takes 6 damage, Laudna takes 12, Dorian takes 6, Breas takes 6, Fern takes 12 damage, Imogen takes 6, Orm takes 6, and Ashton takes 6. They open up the hole and Dorian jumps inside. He smells the absolute rot in this little hole. They need to clear that thing out. Laudna remembers a elven doll that she got in the ruins of the secret portal temple, and she gives it to Rin. Rin is much more confident with this, and the platform they're on begins to crumble away. Orm takes some of the glass of the crumbling platform, and Rin teleports the party to the temple with no issue, as with an item associated with the location makes it almost guaranteed. They then let Dorian out of the hole, and they start making their way down towards the portal. As they get there, they see a bunch of holy warriors of Vasselheim as they're beginning to come through this portal. The party tell them to turn back, everything is breaking away. The warriors call for the Dusk General. A massive elf steps forward with the symbol of the Moonweaver around their neck. They have black hair with a bit of white inside and a tattoo on their face and 1 golden eye. There are 2 angels behind them. They say that they are General Okirai and ask if they are the Bell's Hells. He asks if they succeeded. The party tell them yes. He looks at the angels behind him, and one of them flies forward and looks at Imogen and says that she carries the God Eater. With that, suddenly the army shifts from a confused position to a one ready to attack. A massive Goliath steps forward and says they gotta die too. Okurai tries to slow her roll, but the Goliath yells, "Let them be smited," and their eyes burn red. The room quakes. The stone above them begins to open, and a single red eye above them appears, the eye of the Ruiner. As it looks at Imogen, it suddenly withdraws. The red light in this room fades. Okurai says they can't touch her or kill her, it'll set it free. They ask what they want, and the party say that Ludinus has fallen, and they are keeping it in check, and they need to discuss things. The Goliath asks with who, but Laudna just says not with her and tells her to move aside. Okurai says that they can't hold them, and says that the party needs to get to Vasselheim. The warriors look at each other. The general is pale at this moment because he's very nervous. Orym says their masters are expecting them. Group persuasion check or intimidation check. Chetney with a 12, Laudna with a 22, Dorian with another natural 20, Breas with a 22, Fern with a 28, Imogen with a 35, Orym with a 17, and Ashen with a 13. The angels' eyes go golden suddenly, and they seem to whisper to each other without everyone being able to hear them. They say they may continue, and they'll escort them. The general says they can go to the walls of Vasselheim, but they cannot go inside. Fear suddenly fills the air of the chamber and the soldiers within, mostly all looking at Imogen. There's the red energy coming off Imogen and Fern, and they are bearing the God Eater to Exandria. They see the holy warriors, all of different gods, angels and devils standing next to each other as the party walk through. They step through into the already split lake. As they do, a chill enters the air. Many warriors hold their holy symbols. They look at Fern and Imogen and say they know it's here. They step outside of the lake into the town where the Ashari were waiting, but they seem to have been pushed aside in favor of these holy warriors. Orym asks Rin to stay with them, and she says it's probably best that she does, that way she can communicate with people, and she just wants to see what's going to happen. Orym doesn't see his sisters at the moment, and the druids are ordered to open a tree tunnel and maintain it, and the party step through to the midday of Vasselheim. On top of the wall, they see hundreds of crossbows and ballistas looking down on them, and here's where the session ends. So there you have it, episode 120 of Campaign 3 of Critical Role. I fucking loved this fight. My heart was racing for a goddamn 4 hours. It's probably not good for my health, but fuck it, I don't care. It was super exciting, super entertaining. It was awesome to just watch a 4-hour combat like that play out. The fact that basically everyone dropped at some point during the combat was wild. I think the only person who didn't drop was Chetney, which is crazy to think. You'd think, oh, Laudna didn't drop either. So Laudna and Chetney didn't drop, which is wild. But it was super entertaining. They were close. There was a couple of times where they were pretty close to some deaths. Both Fern and Breas were scaring me just quite a lot with how they were dropping like flies and losing 2 death saves right away. But overall, really fun episode. I'm very excited for like how they're going to be treated by Vasselheim now, because beforehand they were sort of treated like unseen heroes, right? Like people would look at them and be like, oh god, these are the guys who are going to help us protect everything. They're going to help us save the world. And now they're the ones holding the God Eater, the one that they were sent to kill effectively. The whole fight was about getting rid of this God Eater, and the people who we wanted to protect us now have it. That is interesting. I'm very excited to see what happens. And yeah, I'm just so happy with how this episode went, especially after all the shit that surrounded episode 119. That fight was awesome. This fight was awesome. It was so good. So fucking good. Anyway, with that being said, I'll see you guys on Tuesday for whatever video I make next. Peace.